Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA podcast. I'm Duncan Crabtree-Ireland, SAG-AFTRA National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator. This month marks National Disability Employment Awareness Month, or NDEAM, which celebrates the contributions of workers with disabilities and promotes inclusive employment practices. To give us an update on the state of disability representation in the entertainment industry, I'm thrilled to be joined by two esteemed SAG-AFTRA members, Christine Bruno and Nick Novicki. Christine is an award-winning actor, teaching artist, and disability equity consultant for the entertainment industry. She serves on the national board and the New York local board of SAG-AFTRA and is chair of both the national and New York local Performers with Disabilities committees and the vice chair of the Diversity Advisory Committee. Christine was recently named a 2024 Disability Futures Fund Fellow by the Ford and Mellon Foundations and United States Artists. And Nick Novicki is an actor, comedian, and founder of the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, an exciting weekend-long filmmaking contest. He's going to tell us all about this. So, Christine, Nick, welcome to you both.
Hey.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you here. So, Christine, let me start with you, if it's okay. October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is and what its purpose is?
Sure. So actually, it was started in 1945, which I did not know until I started doing my background research. It was a Disability Employment Awareness Month in recognition for the physically handicapped. And in 1988, they changed it. They took out the words physically handicapped and updated it to National Disability Employment Awareness Month to include folks with all sorts of disabilities. Basically, it is exactly what it says. It's giving to celebrate the employment contributions of disabled people and also to bring awareness to disparities in employment for disabled people and just to let the labor force know that disabled people are talented and out there ready to be employed. The unemployment disparity between disabled people and non-disabled people is still pretty stark. And to my mind, it's been gaining recognition yearly.
Well, and it sounds like it lines up perfectly with SAG-AFTRA's, goals and agenda, specifically, not just from our PWD committee, but also, as a union and based on our sort of fundamental philosophy. Maybe I can ask you about the specific sort of initiatives or campaigns that SAG-AFTRA and our PWD committee has planned for NDEAM. I'm assuming that's about educating members, educating the community. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's absolutely about educating members, educating the community, educating the industry, but also about celebrating the work that has been done and continues to be done. Because I think sometimes we forget about the celebration part, that there are people doing amazing work that sometimes doesn't get the recognition or the airplay that it deserves. I will say, and this is a tie-in to SAG-AFTRA, the first NDEAM celebration that I was involved with was the 30th anniversary, which was 4 years ago now, 30th anniversary of the ADA. We did an NDEAM celebration where we specifically showcased a lot of SAG-AFTRA talent. Nick, I think you participated in that. I think you...
I did.
Yeah. And I did as well. And that was great. And I think that was the first time that SAG-AFTRA had sort of jumped onto the bandwagon. So I'm thrilled to have SAG-AFTRA involved. This year, we have actually a lot planned. In addition to this podcast, a big rollout of, I don't know if you'd call them PSAs or little sort of films by obviously all SAG-AFTRA talent, made the scripts, just little vignettes to showcase throughout the month, funny things just to educate the community and the larger community at large about the importance of hiring disabled actors and just things that folks might not know.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned the word celebrate, Christine, in describing this, because first of all of those things sound great and sound really engaging and fun as well. And I think sometimes, advocacy work can be intense and people think of it that way. And so it is really important, I think, also to emphasize the celebration aspect because you can do both, right? I mean,
Yes.
it can be intense, but it can also be fun, engaging, and still actually, making a real difference in moving towards the ultimate objective. So I really appreciate you using the term celebration. And I guess I'd just ask, so what can members at large who might be listening to this podcast, or even frankly, people in the industry or community who might be listening to this podcast who don't really know how to engage with NDEAM, like what can they do to participate or support or whatever?
Well, I think in terms of the specific initiatives that SAG-AFTRA has going on throughout the month is I think specifically with the content that we're putting out on social media, I would say share, share, share with your friends. And one of the things that was really important in talking to the folks that developed this project was that they wanted to make it, to your point, funny, and I'm going to use this word intentionally, accessible to everyone so that they didn't feel like they were being like it is an educational tool, but that they weren't being preached at or and because I think sometimes when people think because everyone's doing it now, DEIA initiatives, they think, oh, I've been through 17 DEI seminars and they think of it as dry. Not that they're not coming away with information, but it was really important that we showcase what we do as artists and make it fun and make it creative. I think if you're an employer, look at the kind of practices you are engaging in terms of hiring practices, certainly for producers, casting directors when they're auditioning, even like internally within SAG-AFTRA, like what are we doing to really focus on disability equity and inclusion? As chair of the national committee, one of the things that I really want to stress is internal allyship with our members, because I feel like a lot of our members don't even know a lot of the disability community. They don't know who's out there. They don't know what kind of work we're doing. And so that's a really important thing for me is not only the external communication, but gaining the internal allyship.
Yeah, and it's such a great point, and it's so true, and it's in a way ironic because I know, Christine, I've heard you say this before, and other members of our PWD committee and community, which is the PWD community is really the largest underrepresented group that we deal with, and yet in a certain way, often doesn't have the visibility that you would expect for a community that's so sizable and has such impact. And so I think maybe opportunities like NDEAM to help um, educate people can really make a difference. I don't know
Yeah.
if that resonates with you and Nick.
Yeah, I mean, really, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's about showcasing the talent. Work leads to work. And as you said, 1 in 4 Americans identify as having a disability. So that is the largest minority population, but we still are the most underrepresented minority population as well. So the more that we are showcased, the more that leads to jobs. For me, as a little person, actor, comedian, the majority of my work has come from being on a show or knowing a producer or knowing another comedian that writes me into something or generating my own content. And I think there's just so much talent within the union. So the more they know about what we're doing and the more casting directors and producers and other people that follow those actors know about what we're doing, I mean, that's just going to lead to more and more opportunities. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think the allyship part is really important because I'm going to say something, and it's a buzz phrase that a colleague of ours came up with several years ago. That disability is the only club that anybody can join at any time, and I think that people forget that. And as we're living longer, that is going to eventually happen to you in some ways, if for no other reason than just the natural aging process. And so that's why allyship is so important to me, because the more people we can get into our tent to be allies now, we'll just be even larger force as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, and we talk a lot in the sort of DEI community about intersectionality. And
That's right.
one of the areas where I think that has presented itself in a really interesting and challenging way recently is in the so-called backlash against DEI, that we've seen
Yes.
as a result of, frankly, counter advocacy by a bunch of groups that have actively been trying to erode corporate support for DEI
Yes.
initiatives, to undermine legal protections and other things. And some of those are very pointed at certain specific diversity communities, and others are more generalized. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, is it well understood, do you feel, in all of the diversity communities, including the PWD community, the intersectionality of that challenge and the importance of all of us fighting back against it? Because, at least from my point of view, it seems like the same sort of attitude that is fighting inclusion, accessibility, et cetera, is a threat to the PWD community just as much as it is to other underrepresented groups.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a very important point when you're talking about intersectionality, because that's something, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, or what your views are, anybody could be a part of this disability community. And so for me, I always frame it as, we are part of every population. You can be somebody who's part of the LGBTQ plus community, who could be Black, who could be this religion. I think if we frame it from the perspective of that 1 in 4 people have a disability, really, this is just a massive part of the population. And that's a part of everybody's inner circles as well. It's a part of somebody's family, it's a part of their friends, of who they grew up with. Because when we say 1 in 4 Americans, it's not just me as a little person or somebody with a physical disability that you could recognize right away. That could be somebody who's on the autism spectrum, or blind, or low vision, or deaf, or something where you wouldn't necessarily know. This could be an invisible disability as well. So I think ultimately talent is what this is all about. There's so much talent in the disability community. I've seen it. I'm the founder and director of the Easter Sales Disability Film Challenge. I'm very honored that over the last 11 years, 750 films have been created and starring people with disabilities, many of those SAG-AFTRA members. And ultimately, the talent speaks for itself. And the fact that we haven't been seen as much as we should, frankly, there's a lot of upside. So regardless of what's happening in terms of funding or counter activism, we as a community have so much talent, and talent that frankly hasn't been seen. And so I'm feeling very optimistic about the coming years, coming months, and all the talent that is going to be getting roles and getting seen in whether it's streaming content, movies, TV shows, and frankly, through creating our own content through new media. There's a new flood of work that is going to be coming. But if you're listening and you have the ability to fund programs that really do level the playing field and create opportunities, whether you're a SAG-AFTRA member, whether you're involved in a network in a studio, we all want to see ourselves represented. And in this, climate where there is a lot of content, we want to see something new. And it's people with disabilities. We have the ability to throw those authentic representation out there into the world. And ultimately, that's what the world wants to see, something that they haven't seen yet before. And I think authentic representation is something that we're going to see more and more of, frankly, because it's smart. You're going to make money, you're going to get more eyeballs, you're going to get those awards.
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, I also think that 2 points that Nick brought up, that it is smart monetarily, it's smart from the bottom line, which I don't think a lot of industry folks realize. We did have in 2009, we had our SAG, well, at the point it was a tri-union campaign, right? And I think maybe in retrospect, maybe that was a little too early for us to do that, because the industry was not ready I don't think they see it as a bottom line issue. They don't see our community as a bottom line issue, as having money, disposable income to spend, and wanting to see ourselves represented. Therefore, paying to see ourselves represented on screen and on television.
Christine, before you go on from that point, is the research there? Like, do we already have the research on
Yeah.
that, and the industry just isn't paying attention to it, or is
Yes.
it that more research needs to be done? Or no, the research is there.
I think it's both, but yes, we have. I think the last figure, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. It was $1 trillion of disposable income.
Wow, that's a big
Disabled people.
number.
So it's a huge
That is a big
number.
number.
The other thing, I think that sometimes the industry, and I say this as part of the intersectionality conversation, it's like what I see is they tend to silo disability. It's like if you first of all, they a lot of times it's changing, which is amazing, and part of that is due to Nick's efforts with the film challenge, is that they will often only hire us to play ourselves, to play disabled characters, right? And what we're trying to do is say that we live in the world. We can play any character. A lawyer can be disabled. A mother can be disabled, right? And so,
And because they are
ultimately,
in real life,
in real
as you
life,
pointed
right?
out. I mean, every
Right.
single profession, every community. I mean, I think the point that you and Nick made about, in a way, it's the ultimate intersectionality, because it's
Absolutely.
everywhere, right? You're
And
everywhere.
yet, I think and I feel a little guilty speaking to this, but since it's us on the podcast today, one of the issues that I hear from my fellow PWDs who come from other communities, as well as being disabled, like communities of color and LGBT, like they people don't think that you can be intersectional in that you can have multiple identities and still be disabled. Do you know what I mean? And so our friends of color are often saying, okay, so we see all these white disabled people getting the jobs, and I'm white, and I'm a person of color, and I'm disabled, and I might have some other identity. I might be LGBTQ, and it's just not. It's so. I think our thinking needs to be more expansive. Is my point.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, so right. And obviously we're a nonpartisan union. We don't support any political candidates or anything like that. But I will just note that one of the candidates for president, not as far as I know, in the disability community, but is in multiple diversity communities. And I think a lot of people are becoming educated about the fact that you can be more than one thing. You can be Black and you can be South Asian. Those are not mutually exclusive categories. And hopefully that education is viewed more broadly, and people recognize that intersectionality also includes individuals who can be more than one thing. I want to make sure, Nick, we get a chance to talk about the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge. You talked a little bit about it, and that number of films is, wow, congratulations. That is such an accomplishment. But for our listeners who don't know really exactly what it is, can you sort of set the stage for what it's all about and how it works?
Sure. So the Easter Sales Disability Film Challenge is an annual 5-day filmmaking competition that happens in the spring. We haven't announced the dates yet for 2025, but it's a 5-day filmmaking competition where you have to make a film that has somebody with a disability in front of or behind the camera. Every year, there's a different genre. Last year was buddy comedy. We have a series of 11 different years. There's been a different genre. And the cool thing about the challenge is the films don't have to be about disability. It just has to include somebody with a disability in front of or behind the camera. And oftentimes, this is people with disabilities writing, directing, producing, being involved in all aspects beyond acting. But really, the genesis to this is, for me, I'm 3'10", and I have been a comedian, an actor, and a proud SAG-AFTRA member for 20 years. And early in my career, I realized I'm 3'10", and no one was going to write the role for me to be the gangster or the romantic lead. So I was going to have to create it myself and produce it myself. And I started doing short films and web series, and work led to work. And to date, I've been in 50 TV shows and movies. I've toured all over the world, but the majority of that has been self-driven, with me putting together my own crews, my own team, and ultimately working together, and it becomes a network. And many people with disabilities haven't had that opportunity because we haven't been able to get those first opportunities in a co-star or in a supporting role in a film. And so 11 years ago, I looked around, I was like, we're 1 in 4 Americans. We're in less than 3% of film and TV shows. So I created the Disability Film Challenge to help other people with disabilities take their career in their own hands. Now, it started small with only a couple films that first year, but I have to say, SAG-AFTRA has been such a supportive entity from year one, with a special SAG-AFTRA contract that allows us to use professional talent all within a special agreement that we have, so that we can do things following union guidelines and protecting the talent, and ultimately including both actors with and without disabilities, and allowing that collaboration to happen. And so then year after year, it's grown. I partnered with Easter Seals Southern California, the nation's largest disability services organization, in 2017. And to date now, we have 750 films that have been created from around the world. This year, we had 135 films. And another thing I'm very proud of is, not only is this just an opportunity for people with disabilities to showcase themselves as they want to be seen, but also it's been an opportunity for the industry to find talent in front of and behind the camera, and ultimately hire people with disabilities. And it's led to countless jobs. People with disabilities have been hired in multiple year TV arcs, in major movies, all through just being seen. And so I encourage you all, go to disabilityfilmchallenge.com, watch our films on our YouTube channel. Just put yourselves out there. If you have a disability, whether you get involved in the film challenge, or whether you're able to make your own content or share your own content. And if you're an ally, if you're a SAG-AFTRA member, please retweet, reshare, Instagram story. You put it out there in the world, because this is about celebrating talent. And ultimately, that's what this is all about. This is about talent. There's so much talent in the disability community. And I'm feeling very optimistic. And, every year I feel like it's Christmas for me when I see a new batch of films that come up and new representation. And, even though it's the same genre, there's a different spin on it from each different film. And so again, go to disabilityfilmchallenge.com, check out all our films, and be on the lookout. I know this is Nadeem time, so National Disability Employment. So let's hire some disabled talent.
Well, I mean, that's just so great. I mean, it seems like the connection between having to create your own work opportunities and the idea to create this challenge to sort of help give others a platform to, in a way, do that, and in a way to have the industry see them. I just think that's really brilliant, and I'm so glad that SAG-AFTRA has been able to be so supportive.
As a participant in the film challenge a few times, honestly, what I'm so excited by every year is, like I said, I think, Nick, the first year there was like 25 films.
There was 5 the first
Five,
year.
only 5 films the first year, and now like 130 films this year. And just to see like what Nick has done almost single-handedly is fed the pipeline so successfully that, like, when I started doing this work, the sort of work of activism and advocacy, especially within the union, I knew every disabled actor there was around the country. I just knew 99% of the disabled actors. Now there's so many people I don't know, and I feel like that's a testament to Nick, and also like we say in the union, potential members. Like, I really want disabled artists to know we see you as potential members. we want to encourage you. This is a viable career for you.
Well, I wanted to say too, first of all, thank you so much, Christine. And you have been such a vital force in this movement and the work that you've done. So I need to say that you've been, fighting the fight for years, and you've done so much hard work and amazing work. And so have Danny Woodburn and Anita Hollander and so many others. So there have been people in this fight for years that have gotten us to the place that we're at now. I feel just so optimistic, honestly, of where we are because again, there's nowhere to go but up. If you're thinking statistically with numbers, and if you're thinking from the business case, from a studio, from a network, you need new stories. There's only how many times can you retell the same story? So we are that new story that hasn't authentically been told yet. So I think it's only a matter of time, and we are where we are because of all the allies and all the people both within our community and within the entertainment industry that have really been fighting the fight to help us be seen. And I think the time is now for us to really hit the accelerator and just continue to keep driving the boat, right through to getting hired and being seen.
Oh my gosh. That I think, Nick, is the perfect note on which for us to begin wrapping this up. But I do want to just second what you said about those amazing people. And Christine, you're always very modest, acknowledging others and lifting them up, which is a wonderful quality. But we want to make sure that you're acknowledged too, because your advocacy has been extraordinary. I've had the opportunity to witness it personally, as you know, and some of the other people that you mentioned. And Nick, I mean, hearing about what you've done, it's really inspiring. And I know that everybody who's listening to this podcast will feel that way too. So, there's a long way to go and there's a lot for us to do, but it's also really important, as you pointed out, Christine, to celebrate what we've accomplished and also the community. And I think that this is a great kickoff to it. And I know, speaking for myself, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other people, really excited to learn more about the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge. We'll check out the films, as you mentioned, Nick. You gave us the place to go do that on your YouTube channel and also on the website, and also to just celebrate Endeam and make sure that we're all doing everything we can to help provide a more inclusive and just world for everybody, including, as we're focused on this month, the disability community. So again, I want to thank you so much, Christine Bruno, Nick Novicki, for being here on the SAG-AFTRA podcast today, and we'll look forward to the next episode. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The SAG-AFTRA podcast is produced and edited by Aaron Goddard and John Small. Supervising producers are Pamela Greenwald, Shira Reich, and Mike McNulty, with production and marketing support from Damon Romine, Jalika Conte, Delaney Howard, Margot Giordano, Joe Malgado, and May Wang. I'm Duncan Crabtree Ireland. See you at the next SAG-AFTRA podcast.